want to hear facts. You want to hear substance. And the only person that gives you that substance is the Chief Election Officer. So whereas we would have supported the Chief Election Officer all throughout the preparation for these elections, today it is his day, and we are allowed, we should be allowing him to start. But more than that, he's going to be addressing some complaints that have come in over the last 6 hours. I have received some, and together we will complement the whole situation. And I dare say, give you some information that you will accept as being valid and true.
Thank you very much, Chairman. While we're only 6 hours, 25 minutes into polling day, I know most of our day started much, much earlier than that. As you're aware, you know that our list comprises 570,787 electors. And our polling stations, there are 2,299. We started our operations this morning pretty early, actually, to ensure that all our stations, to ensure they were all opened in time. However, there are a few instances in which this did not occur, few being few. And this was due to very many factors beyond Gecom's control. During the course of the morning, during my visits and the information I would have been receiving from political parties, from observers, from the media, indicated that at some locations, at 5 locations across Guyana, we've had instances of our stamps, the 6-digit stamp that is criteria for every voter, his or her ballot or her vote to be stamped. We had some instances where they were broken. Once we received this information, we made every effort to ensure that that was corrected. In the meantime, the stamps are 6-digit in number. And what has happened is that 1 or 2, and in one instance 3 of the digits came off the stamp. So break as it relates to the amount of digits of our 6-digit stamp that was broken. It happened, as we all know, I saw some of you at Central High School. It also happened, I'm advised, in District 6 on 2 occasions, and also in District 2. That has been satisfied or rectified, as it were. We've provided additional stamps to all the districts from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. When we deployed our materials, when we sent out our materials, we had provided adequate amount for the hinterland, so should such a scenario would have arisen, they would have had adequate in their locations. We had also an unfortunate situation in District 3 where our PO, instead of providing to elector the ordinary ballot, they issued tendered ballots in 7 instances. Fortunately for us, when they discovered that, the electors were within the vicinity, and the DCO, who is operating in District 2 and 3 today, was able to correct, he took corrective actions as far as that goes. We're continuing to monitor and check all the information provided to us and investigate and take the appropriate administrative measures to correct all those issues or those situations that may have arisen. We are maintaining contact with the political parties and taking into account their own observations, and we are responding to those accordingly also. To date, as at this time, there has been no major incident that has been reported to us. Electors are generally queuing in a respective manner and expressing their interest. in participating in these elections. That is all I want to say at this point in time. Sorry, I don't know if you want to add anything at this point.
Yes. Yes, I cannot allow this chance to go unutilized. The CEO spoke about these stamps breaking or the digits becoming illegible. And that has happened, he mentioned at Central High School. The point is that it was corrected, and we will discuss this in the future. Where are we getting these stamps from? And this is one of the better agencies, an agency that has never let us down. But it's nothing that we knew. We tested them, and they were functioning at that time. I am particularly disturbed about that because I feel we were cheated when we paid our good money for the stamps, and the stamps could not take on after 50, 40 or 50 times of usage that they break down. Quickly, I will mention some of these very peripheral issues that I said at some time or the other that we tend to focus on the irrelevant and not on the substance. And that seems to be so. People speaking very loosely about matters like the ink is coming off of the fingers. Well, I'm shaking people's hands as I visit the stations, and I get ink. I don't vote, but I get ink smeared on me, and it ain't going anywhere. And I did try with all sorts of bleach to get it out. My hand looks very technicolor, and I don't like it. But the ink is good. Stop spreading the rumor that the ink is not working. People having to wait long in line. Perhaps that's one of our mistakes. We tell people go and vote early, so hundreds of people go to vote early, and you have a whole set of people there. That's one thing. You might have to revisit that particular request of the electorate. But what's more important is that some people are going with their old decommissioned ID cards. Well, those cards have the people looking 10 years younger, obviously. Those were cards that we had done a long time ago, and they're using those cards. In banks all over the place they're using those cards, but those cards have been decommissioned. But you can't go in a polling station with those cards. They will not accept you. But your name is on the list. It's on the list of that polling station. So either you go back home, or you go back home and get your correct ID card, or you swear an oath that the presiding officer will administer as if you did not have an ID card at all. Because that old ID card is like having no ID card at all. We have had reports that our polling staff, our polling clerks, have been disrespectful in Region 3. Well, I better not mention the name because I received a report, asked it to be investigated, and I have not received the answer as yet. But in Region 3, in District 3, being disrespectful to an elderly person, any person, tells me that you, the miscreant, you have not understood that the electorate are in fact, is in fact our employer. And we better get that message over clear. They're not to be treated impolitely or disrespectfully. If party agents or if political parties tend to come out at some press conference and make statements, and I get to hear about them at the next press conference, whenever that is, 6 hours from now, 3 hours from now.
The next press conference will be at 19 hours or 7 p.m.
o'clock. Okay, but at that time, I will have some more to state. Police inside the polling stations, that has come to my attention, and that was so far away as West Barometer. I got that report. We have taken action. Security at the polling stations after 6 o'clock. we're going to have to look into that more seriously. I am worrying that at that time, people outside of the polling stations, coming late, feeling that in some way they had a right to come late, will want to storm the polling stations. That might not be. And in all likelihood, it would not be. Or if it is happening, it's going to happen as a very singular occurrence. But even if it's just one episode of this, it is enough to create a blemish on what is, as the chief said, a smooth-flowing electoral process and a voting process right now. We have had reports that a certain channel, I have not been able to confirm this, and I've had the channel on, but I was told that certain channels, or a channel, was making some incendiary remarks that people, electors, were being disenfranchised. Well, we have not gotten any such report, and I do believe that the party agents would have been up in arms should that have been happening. But these sorts of remarks, especially when they come together with, oh, you see those helicopters up there? They're flying around Georgetown to intimidate the electorate. If that is a true statement, that is a nefarious statement, a reprehensible statement, a statement that we cannot accept as coming from anybody that is serious about what we are doing or attempting to do here today. There are some other matters, but I'll keep them for 7 o'clock if they are raised by political parties. And until then, I'm going to sign off. That's the release that we are making to you today.
With the digits were not clear on as many as 40 ballots. Will those ballots still be counted? One.
The answer is a definitive yes.
Yes.
You have
Second,
cleared that and make that very clear.
as it relates to your polling staff, we've had reports that in explaining to electors the process of voting, especially first-time voters, some of the polling clerks have said, well, okay, this is how you vote, and they point to a particular political party.
That I have not heard.
All right.
Chief, I don't know.
No, I've been around this morning.
That sounds so improbable, to be quite
They're
honest.
the reports we get.
Going together again, the guy in the Times TVG. Dr. Serge Valley, Mr. Lowenfield, we just were informed that police had cause to arrest 2 persons in South Rumbelt after they attempted to snatch the ballot boxes. Can you confirm?
Snatch?
Yes.
The ballot box in the polling station
But,
with about 6 or 7.
But the police just arrested 2 persons.
No, but it's the snatching that I'm interested in. Is it a lunatic?
I
Perhaps?
wouldn't know, sir.
Well, investigative journalism dictates that you find out.
But I'm just wondering if you got any reports of that.
This is just coming.
I just saw that, if I may, Chair.
That's just coming.
I saw that from the PRO's laptop that says this is what has happened, and we are in the process of investigating that.
Gordon Mosley, news source. Could any one of you gentlemen explain to us what is the process that the polling agents or the ballot clerk would have to employ when a stamp would go bad? We have received reports that one ballot clerk was writing on the numbers. So could you explain the process? What were they
Presiding
taught?
officer.
Presiding officer. What is the process that they would have been taught? And would those votes be valid if they have the numbers written onto them?
Well, as Vanessa asked us, how those votes will be counted. The 6-digit stamp, as I indicated earlier, it's 6 digits. 2 digits may very well, as has happened, and you were, no, I didn't see you at Central High, would have, for some reason or the other, been removed. What the PO did, if the digits were 0 and 8, for example, they continue using and utilize where the 8 or the 0 or the 1 or 9 or whatever would include that corrective action because the digits are gone to do so. And as the chairman, as I mentioned, those would be counted as valid. It's important to note that during the issue at Central, in all the, at one point in time, when the crowd started acting up, polling had stopped. So it is a very minimal amount of votes that would have when the breakage took place. I'm going to call it a breakage, took place. So it is very minimal. And I corrected that in the fastest possible time. But as a rule, that is what we're doing. That is what I've advised or I've instructed the RO in District 6 and in District 2 to do until the replacements are provided.
Jimo Paul, iNews. Mr. Lonefield, we have reports come from Berbice that a politician has threatened a presiding officer over her refusal to allow a person who is not registered to vote at a polling station to vote there. Can you confirm or deny?
I am now hearing that report. What I know, and you were there, well, you said you arrived after me at Central.
This is the Barbies.
Yeah, I'm now hearing that report from you in Borbies, but I'm going back to Central High School where, and some of you would know that the PO was threatened by members of the public there. I'm aware of that fact. It was reported to me by the presiding officer at that station and also by the agents. As it relates to Borbies, no, I'll have to inquire to confirm or deny that that has indeed and in fact happened.
It's in Martin Place, Belvedere.
In Belvedere, correct.
Yes.
It's in my neck of the woods.
Dr. Sir Valley, Dennis Road, the Waves. Sir, could you tell us at this stage what is the estimated cost of the stamps and from where they were purchased? And secondly, have you been receiving reports of campaigning near polling stations? That is to say, party vehicles bearing paraphernalia, campaigning paraphernalia. We have heard reports of that happening in Whisper and also in areas of Nadia. Have you gotten those reports and how are you addressing them?
All right. The first question, let me make it clear that I am not the purchaser of material, nor am I the custodian of Gecom's finances, nor am I the accounting officer. But I can tell you that it's Code International that we purchased those things from, and the CEO might have heard my vexation on that particular matter, that we will very shortly be dealing with the people who have sold us this. Because as far the word I used was cheating. They have sent us equipment that was substandard, and that is not acceptable. But I must hasten to add, we have been using this company now, dare I say, decades, and this is the first time that we have had such a lapse. But then again, I should mention that it's only, this is the second time that we're introducing the 6-digit code, and in elections, would that be right? Third time?
We're listening to it on the spot.
Okay. But still, to be having something like this occur is real terrible. The other issue about party campaigning, well, I have not heard that vehicles and so on are doing that, but I got a call from an irate person saying, from Buxton, who threatened all sorts of things, and he said that you cannot campaign on election day, which is true, but there, as the president or the candidate for presidency on the PPP civic list came out of the polling station, he made some comments which that person interpreted as campaigning. I personally would, and this is just me, would not make a big issue of a presidential candidate, especially one who was up to very shortly was the president, and making a statement of that nature. I have heard, for example, that the president went into a week ago to Kampayangana when he was looking at being commander-in-chief, looking at the the voting process there, and he was wearing a red shirt. And, you know, people were commenting on that. I don't think that would be one way or the other swaying a voter in the exercising of his franchise or her franchise.
Samantha Allen, establishment. I'm still in the field. Since most schools are being used as polling stations, I'm just wondering what's the process or what instructions are given to polling agents when it comes to the blown up photographs of candidates, such as the former president, former minister of education, and the former prime minister. Are these covered or removed from classrooms?
You're asking a question that you know the answer to.
Well, I don't, because
You don't?
I
And
noticed,
you're on the elections beat?
I noticed these today, so I'm asking what are the instructions given?
I got money in my pocket. I bet that she any kind that she can't find a no way. That's not school. I deny that.
Mr. Surjbali, I saw it with my eyes at
And you took a picture of it?
St. Gabriel Primary School. Mr. Keith Scott from APNU had to go into the classroom and instruct the polling agents to, and then is when it was removed. I saw it with my own eyes, that's why I'm
And the
asking.
answer,
You bet. The procedure is very clear as far as, yes, we are in the main utilizing schools for this, and photographs of politicians are normally taken down and placed into to other classrooms for the process. Definitely, I'll inquire deep into the report you've made relative to that at that school.
not the president, not the prime minister, not the minister of education.
All three of them, including a poster with all four ministers, all four of those posters were on the wall. I saw them with my eyes, and Mr. Keith Scott from APNU went into the classroom, and then is when they were removed. I saw them. This, I'm not going on hearsay here.
All right.
Gentlemen, we're seeing a lot of young voters, first-time voters, who are very enthusiastic about the process, posting photographs of how they would have voted on social media. Is there any restriction or anything against?
There are no laws on
That's all.
social media in this country. In any
None you
country.
can stop.
You can
And
appeal to them not to do that.
Yeah. And secondly, sir, I'm just asking some clarification. After casting the ballot, the right index finger is the only finger that could be dipped in the ink? Any finger? Because I'm seeing a photograph now of Mr. Rohi and his middle finger.
He was showing that to you.
Look, this is the finger he dipped in the ink, the middle finger. So when he came out to the cameras, he flipped out the birdie and everybody.
Our training is very clear on that we utilize the right index. If you don't have, then you can go to another thing.
But if you do,
No.
could a voter, regardless of who it is, decide, I don't want you to put my right index finger in the ink for whatever reason. I prefer to use my middle finger. What is the process? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Right, and as I said to you, the right index finger is the one that is used, and you only go to any other finger, the ring finger or wherever, if you don't have the right index.
Say the process that
The process is correct. That is our teaching. That is what we have taught all our staff. And I hear you on that finger being utilized.
But have you had conversations with your staff about being intimidated by persons who might be in power, senior officials or senior politicians? So when they come, they say, I'm not using this finger, I'm using this finger, or I'm not doing this, I'm doing that. They're not easily intimidated. And they could actually stand up to any one of these folks and follow the process, and it would have been taught.
Look, two things. One, if the person justifiably cannot use this finger or prefers not to use the index finger, is it a big deal that he use the other finger? Common sense must prevail. I'll go somewhere else, and this is a place that I did not want to go at any time. there are many of their Muslim brethren who says it's against their rules and their mullah's teachings to use this finger at elections, because as they go down to pray, they will always, first of all, put this finger to ensure that everyone knows there is but one God. And so this finger is not used for that. You are coming now to tell them to besmirch that finger. I think they would have a legitimate reason to say, look, I prefer not to use this finger, I use the other finger. Is there going to be an issue with which finger you use? I want to be facetious and say, and agree with the chief, that Mr. Rohi might have done that deliberately. But it's not a matter of forcing. If he has what's it called, a lesion on his finger, and he prefers that not go into silver nitrate, which could exacerbate the problem, and he wants to do it. Is that an issue? Please don't make issues really no issue.
So we're just checking on the process, and we don't like being told
that's the
not to make issues. We want to find out the
Staining
process.
staining the finger is a final here.
And we want to clarify the process, not to be told it's not an issue.
A clarification, Dr. Valley, has security been increased at some of the polling stations, given that we've had reports of persons intimidating electors at some of the stations?
The requirement for police presence remains as is stated, 1 rank per station. The reports you may have received, I am not as at this time in receipt of those, the issues of intimidation. I'm sure once, should there be those reports, I'll no doubt be communicating with the Commissioner of Police on these issues.
I'm about to have an answer for you by 7 o'clock.
Yes, if there was intimidation.
Yeah. No, but even if there is intimidation, but it is important that our ballot boxes be seen as sacrosanct. And we have had on occasion one report recently this morning, where the policeman sat, this was in Bartica, I think, it was Bartica, sat over the ballot box. You know, someone told him those ballot boxes are important, and he took that in his officiousness to ensure that nobody's touching that ballot box. This is a ballot box that I will protect with my life. Now, I understand that. So, but the rule that you asked for, Mr. Mosley, is that they're supposed to be outside. And on Discipline Services Day, the Northeast trade winds started to raise their ugly head on that day. And all of those persons that were supposed to be standing outside of the polling station edged themselves inside for protection. So these things can happen. But they are not intimidating anybody. No reports have come in on that. Nor are they bullying anybody at the entrance of the polling station during the casting of the vote.
Mr. Lowenfield, in view of these reports of threats to presiding officers and other election day staff, alleged threats, sorry, to POs and other election day staff, do you think there is need for additional security at the polling stations?
I can tell you when I spoke with the young lady, the PO at Central, I told her that she will be provided with adequate security at close of poll unto the point where she will be depositing her statement and her ballot box to the office of the DR. So I can only treat with what has and what I know. You were there and you know what transpired at Central High. But in the main, I don't think such scenarios are going to develop. No doubt the crowd was cheated up because of slothfulness and the fact that the stamp broke. And they're concerned whether or not their votes will be counted.
That was it. When this thing happened, party agents themselves were saying, well, we don't know that we can accept somebody writing down the number. And I arrived there together with I don't know his position, but his name is David Patterson, part of the AFC component of the APNO AFC, and together with the party roving agent for that area, and we sorted that matter out very quickly, to everyone's satisfaction. Legitimate question. The 49 votes that have already been cast there with good stamps. Will now those be taken into consideration, or is it only from number 50 with the handwritten one? Again, common sense would tell you they would be, but they would be accounted, but they wanted that reassurance. And here there were 3 persons of some distinction within the hierarchy to assuage that doubt.
And what happened news. Could you say whether there were any reports of the ballot box arriving at Ansel's primary school in the Kaintuman River at 7 this morning?
No, I think we received an email from an observer that so indicated. I haven't seen the email because that was forwarded to me and my secretary told me that. But my report from District 1, from my operational team, is that all went well. So I'll have to do a special investigation relative to that. I think we received an email from a member of the American Embassy local team who is in that location. So I'm investigating that and will provide a report on that at the next press briefing.
Mr. Lowenfield, Andrew Briggs, 19 News. Could you tell me the security arrangement for polling places? I've been observing and seeing that at some polling places they have police officers, and at some polling places, other polling places, they have like some private security services. Is that the arrangement for the security arrangement for polling places?
The law is very clear on ranks from the discipline services being present at every polling station. I know what the commissioner has done because of the shortages they would have had in the force. They would have trained adequate ranks, RCs, and you would have been seeing RCs in these stations across Georgetown, where I visited today. So they're trained, they're sworn in as special constables or rural constables for the day, sworn as those ranks for performance of those duties.
With a baton?
Well, it wasn't visible today. I didn't see the baton. I saw the caps that said RC.
Rural constables.
All right, we'll bring this press conference to an end. We will resume at 19 hours, 7 p.m. right here